I'm going to tell you a story, but the first thing I have to understand is time doesn't work the way you think it does. You can call me Oracle. No one's talking to you. Welcome to the call. So, I'm going to start out with finishing off the last of the final clause of the contracts of the Wyrd. The fatal clause. If a changeling has been targeted by a contract he's equally skilled in, he can use this clause to nullify it. So, Samakarati Vavakarati Pindikaroti. Where are you? Pratiyati, Prasadayati, Vidyadaibo. So associate with insinuate yourself into, identify with equal, reduce to order, become supernatural being. Samakarati and Vavakarati Pindikaroti, Vratakam Date, Prasadayati, Vidatam Karoti. And so that's associate with, insinuate yourself into, identify with, accomplish a vow, and then reduce to order with nullify. And that's basically how the fatal clause works, near as I can tell, at least. All right, and now that I've done that, oh, also on a side note, I've redone the second and third clause twice with 2 more feathers. It's good to reinforce as far as I'm aware, like layering stuff. It's handy. Like layering clothes. Layering spells can be very not ineffective if you do it not improperly. Alright, and True Fae. True Fae appearance. Although True Fae's appearance is never the worst thing about the creature, it is the visual hook upon which the rest of the horrid memories hang, and often ends up being the first thing a changeling recalls about her keeper. The fair folk are creatures whose appearances are not easily defined, while changelings as well have a wide array of facades. It's Fae facades. It's easy to look upon them and note at least a few common elements that connect them: the homes of various beasts, the airy perfections of the fair, as the unnerving imperfections of the wizened. The Fae share no such easy categorization. Some appear entirely or mostly human, others may resemble some more grandiose or monstrous versions of the changeling seemings. Some, though, feature faces and bodies that go well beyond the limits of what is known or demonstrated by the lost. A Fae who appears like a crashing wave with watery maw, a keeper who is slowly turning red and black, who is a slowly turning red and black mandala, or a fiend who has the face of a woman atop the body of a stone tiger with a tail like barbed leather flail. Abstraction and deformity come together to make fiends represent both unearthly beauty and unholy foulness. What determines the true Fae's exact physical appearance is unknown. Some assume that when the true Fae crawl from whatever nightmare that spawns them, they take on the countenance of the dream itself. The elements of the nightmare come to them, merge with the consciousness, and bloats the invisible body with the nightmare images of horror. Some evidence gives credence to this theory of being built from images and impressions they steal from the psyche of mortals. One changeling is said to have been taken by a true Fae who apparently who appeared almost exactly like the changeling's own wife, whom he accidentally had killed years before in a drunk driving accident. The Fae didn't seem initially cognizant of this fact, and her other kept changelings saw her the same way. In other words, they did not see her as some reflection of their own past, but instead each saw her the same way, indicating her countenance was not a ruse or illusion, which is fascinating. The ex-wife had figured prominently in the changeling's own dreams, a phantom from beyond the grave, chiding him with words that became whips that flayed his skin. No surprise, then, when the true Fae who looked like her could do similar things, turning her words into literal barbs and thorns that score his flesh. And the flesh of others. Of course, evidence exists too that points to the contrary of this. No known Fae has ever replicated a known mortal or known monster or pop culture figure. While children and adults are capable of dreaming nightmares that feature Michael Myers or the creature from the Black Cocoon haunting them, no changeling has of yet ever seen gentry who appear as such. Some speculate this is answered easily. The Fae steal their faces only from the nightmares born of the dreamer. The shared horror of, say, Frankenstein or Freddy Krueger, or like Jigsaw, simply don't have the horrific impact necessary to bear consciousness like terrible fruit, whereas nightmares of elfin abductors or gray aliens have true cultural resonance. More argue that it's because the Fae aren't born from nightmares at all, but are simply predators that treat nightmare as a hunting ground. The reason they themselves appear like things out of nightmares is because they can create only what they know, which is their own twisted beauty and grotesqueness. In this world, however, a Fae is limited. The verisimilitude formed by the so-called reality doesn't allow the true Fae to fulfill the spectrum of forms available to given a Fae, and thus she can only become two forms. One is ostensibly human. It appears in most ways humanoid. This humanoid form might feature a few oddities: forked tongue, talons, dripping glowing fingers, irises colored red or white, or some other supernatural color, or unnatural color rather. But does not feature abnormalities that would distinguish the Fae as inhuman from afar: wings, horns, multiple limbs. The Fae's second form is a kind of pure form of its theme. Fae are all about them themes. That's just how it is. They're kind of like superheroes or supervillains, depending on how they aspect that way, and that they're all about their theme. Now, admittedly, like, this is far more the case with, like, DC characters, but, like, can't get the Joker to break theme, that's for sure. Oh, no telling if the Fae chooses this form upon whatever gross birth stirs it into existence, or whether this form is simply part of the fiend's fabric of existence from the start. The pure form could be anything: a draconic entity, a pulsing dark light, or a many-limbed goddess with mouthful of blood and head of worms. Often, the two forms, humanoid and unalloyed, make a kind of strange sense together. One Fae, for instance, has a pure form of a Ford tea-bucket roadster from the early 1950s, with tires rimmed with liquid shadows, a front grille that looks like clenched teeth, and fire that belches out the exhaust. That's baller. The humanoid form is complementary: a tall greaser with a mean eye, a meaner knife, and a slick duck's cut tapering his oily black hair. And were a changeling able to soften his fear long enough to gaze upon this keeper in both forms, the changeling would notice that the two share the same clenched grin, or that the headlights to the Model T bucket sometimes squint and wink like the greaser is wont to do. Mask. The Fae can mimic humanity, and his mask is good at passing is good enough to pass unnoticed among the human herd. No role is necessary to assume the mask. The Fae simply wishes it, and the false visions take over. Moreover, they seem to intuitively know the vast range of human tongues and able to speak in whatever language the listener himself speaks. No, they speak in universal translation. That's annoying. However, the mask is not perfect. A Fae's faux human countenance suffers from many small weaknesses, like cracks in an otherwise perfect mirror. In game terms, social rules made in a true Fae's favor while bearing the mortal mask are made at a -1 penalty, and they do not gain the 10 again benefit from such a roll. When a Fae affects the mask, doing so costs him 1 point of glamour to turn it on, and 1 point of glamour to turn it off. The mask duration is limited to by how long the Fae can remain in the mortal realm. Once this time period is up, the Fae may no longer manipulate the mask. As noted, the mask is imperfect. Even if the Fae nominally beautiful, something seems off, askew, decidedly strange. Sometimes the thing isn't quantifiable, and the fiend only gives off an aura of wrongness. Other times, it's manifests physically. Index fingers eerily longer than all the other fingers, pointed teeth, oddly colored eyes, persistent nosebleed. The mask holds up to casual scrutiny, but if a human or changeling stares at the mask, assume a wits plus investigation roll, she can see something is wrong. Note that that this doesn't confer an easy answer of "I discovered one of the others." People look strange all the time. The deformed, the disfigured, the unkempt, they're just plain odd. This doesn't necessitate them being true Fae, but it could make a changeling worry when she comes across such a person. The mask is hard for a changeling to pierce. The mask is hard for a changeling to pierce. The changeling is allowed to make a wits plus occult plus weird roll versus the Fae's presence plus weird score. When suspecting that a Fae is wearing a mortal mask, the changeling can also spend 1 glamour point to try to peer through the illusion. In spending the glamour, the changeling avoids having to make the roll and automatically sees through the face mask for a single turn. That sounds pretty handy. The Fae may not access access any of the supernatural abilities directly associated with their mains, as determined below. While wearing the mask, the Fae can access contracts and other powers such as associated blessings, but her main carries with it several physical manifestations that she cannot access when wearing the face and flesh of a mortal being. Unlike the main, a true Fae can change her mortal mask once per visit to the human world. Upon leaving the hedge or a mortal's dream, the Fae can spend 2 glamour and roll her presence plus subterfuge. Success indicates she can appear as a mortal she has met in the past. If she tries to change into a human that she has never met, or attempts to concoct a human mask out of her imagination, the roll suffers 1-3 dice penalty. No matter how she decides to appear, mask is always a little off. Always. It's just how it works. Moreover, elements of her main always come through as it does with changelings. No matter how good a mask is, it's still a freaking mask. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe.